I think all of you in this room perhaps have heard the name Billy Graham, Dr. Graham. For years, he was a television evangelist, and he had a message of, it's time to come forth to give your life to Christ, and people will come up to the altar at the end. Very powerful messages. Well, as he has aged, there was a very enterprising person named John Meacham. John Meacham is the editor of Newsweek magazine. And John went down to visit Dr. Graham in North Carolina because he wanted to ask him if he'd had any change of heart about any of his theology, any of his thinking. And that's the theme of the gospel today. Change your hearts, O Lord. Change my heart, O God. So he gets down to that cabin where Dr. Graham lives, and he's got his notepad, and he's assuming that because Dr. Graham is kind of a rock-ribbed fundamental Baptist, there'll be no changes of anything in him. And he said, have you had a change of heart about anything? And Dr. Graham said, yes, I have. Yes, I have. John, he's writing now. Okay, here we go. What's the change of heart? And he said, well, I feel very much like Abraham and Sarah must have felt when God said to them, I'm asking you now to move from the familiar to the unfamiliar. I'm asking you to move from your comfort zone to a new land entirely, and I'm going to make a blessing of that new place, and you will be a blessing to others. You can imagine Sarah and Abraham, the difficulty of doing that. How do you leave the familiar and the comfortable in order to go to the new land? And he said, that's how I'm feeling. And John Meacham eventually would put down his pen. He just listened to Dr. Graham talk about the profound changes he was going through. There were two mainly, but one of them is interesting, I think. The first, he said, I don't read the Bible literally like I used to. Whoa, that's a big confession from a fundamental Baptist, right? I don't read it literally quite the way I did when I was younger. And he said, don't misunderstand me. For those that read the Bible, every literal word, I understand it, I get it, I know what you're talking about. I moved from that position, though. I see the nuances of Scripture. I see the metaphors and images, and I don't always take it literally the same way I did. But the second one was even more formidable. It was even deeper. He said, I used to talk a lot about sin, and I cared about the sin of the world, your sin and my sin, and I still do. But now it's all about Christ. Now it's all about Christ in me. Now it's all about Christ's heart in me, the sacred heart of Jesus within me. And Meacham was speechless. He couldn't believe the profundity, the wisdom of this old pastor who had been through it all. Basically, it's all about Christ, not about me. That change of heart. And so you read along with Jim as he read that gospel lesson about the Pharisees. They're always trying to trip Jesus. They're always trying to get Jesus into trouble and make him a mockery. And they said there are all these traditions about eating that are very important. How you wash and how you get your hands washed and how that all the utensils are clean and all of that, the rituals. And your disciples don't do it. He was scolding them. And he just said, stop it. Stop it. You don't even know what you're talking about. You're just a bunch of hypocrites. Because you think that my disciples are defiling themselves because they don't do these traditions, these laws, these rules and regulations. Wait. You need to have a change of heart. It's not about all those things out there. It's that you want your heart to change. You want your heart to be sacred. That's what I'm trying to teach all of you. And they would hardly listen. And so we talk about a heart change this morning. Change my heart, oh God. And sometimes you need a word that helps you do it. Now, most of you are familiar with that old word, repent. And so, oh no, he's not going to talk about repentance. Sunday morning, I came to just enjoy the music. Wait. How about some Greek? You're all very brilliant people. You know these Greek words, I'm sure. You've all heard of the word paranoia, haven't you? Paranoia. That's where you're looking this way. Not all things are, that's not bad to be a little paranoid in this world, right? For safety. But this word's metanoia. Metanoia. Pastor Dave's taught this in his Bible. Metanoia means turning your life around. around and going in a different direction. And that's what Dr. Graham was talking about. I'm moving in a new direction. That's what the Lord invited Abraham and Sarah. Come on, I want you to go in a new direction. That's what he calls churches to do. It's what he calls us as individuals to do. To change your heart, to do a metanoia. And I'm sure you've come in here and said, I don't need that, Pastor. My life is just fine. But at times, I'll bet you have needed a moment in your life to go a different direction. A new way, if you will. You've needed to do that. And maybe some or more of you in this room needs that right now. This is no judgment on you. Just, you need that. It isn't working, the relationship you're in. Or you've got an old grudge and you can never get rid of it. That's it. Is there a way to change your heart? Metanoia. Now sometimes, in my case, it was literal. I needed a change of heart. Here's how it happened. 2009, you were alive then, right? 2009, I was out walking my labs. I lived in New Mexico, and I got a little tired, and I had a little indigestion, and I had an appointment with my doctor about a week after that, and I said, you know, I'm just so tired, and he said, oh, you know, we should probably check it. Why don't you go have a stress test at the hospital? You know, that's where you walk and as fast as you can, kind of, and they have these monitoring your heart and everything. I flunked my stress test. What? I've never flunked a test in my life. And, you know, gee, I got an F. What is this? And I said, what's it all mean? Well, fast forward 1 month later, I began January of 2010. I'm flat on my back. I've just been through a double heart transplant, open heart, double see, and anesthesia still is in there. Thank you for helping me. And, you know, I'm like this. And there were things that happened that I understood. I was in surgery and went through it. And my wife is there. She's holding my hand as I come out, and the anesthesia is still there. And we're married, and 3 times I asked her to marry me again. I don't know what that was about. And just then the doctor came into the room. He said, well, how's our patient? She said, well, doctor, I don't know what you gave him, but give him some more because it's getting good here. You know? And churches do this, you know. Somebody brought me, a pastor I think brought me one of those shawls, those prayer shawls, little blankets. And it was sort of on my side. And the doctor said, oh, what is that? Again, the anesthesia, I couldn't think of the word. And I said, it's my binky. Enough of all of this. Although, last night, at the 5:30 service, in order to raise more money for, you know, our peanut butter campaign, I said, for $20 you can see the scar. And a guy at the door says, for $30 I won't see it. Okay. We're building more money for the kingdom here. Enough of all of that. But the doctor said to me, he said, we need to reverse your heart. We need to reverse that plaque. We need to reverse all of the stuff that's in there that's clogged the arteries. He was talking about, if you will, a physical metanoia, for me at least, as a profound example to me. I have to change my heart, change my ways in this case. And I just love this image because I think it's so important. And I'm so glad, just like you, there are people along the way that taught you how to do this. Because sometimes I don't know how to change my heart. I know, you know, ask for forgiveness and all of this. I don't know how to change my heart at times. Well, about 4 years ago, I got a phone call out of the blue from somebody that used to be my organist at one of my churches. In this case, it was in Brooklyn. He was there for a year. He was 26 years old. His name was David. And David was an incredibly gifted, he was just an amazing person. He played everything by ear. How can you play the organ by ear? Nobody can play the organ by ear. You've got to have lots and lots of notes to play on. He would. Whatever hymn I wanted, he played it by ear. If it was Bach, it didn't matter, whatever. And he played it with such energy. And you have to sort of imagine, there was sort of a half of a wall, and then he was behind it. You're out there, and he was behind it, and he had this long, flowing blonde hair, okay? And so he's going like this during it, and attendance of single women skyrocketed. I never understood that, but, you know, he was just so exciting and wonderful, and he was with us for about a year. And then we're talking on the phone, and I said, you know, how you been? And I didn't know why he was calling me, so he said, Pastor Tom, I need to ask something of you. I said, okay, anything, anything. He said, well, I need to make amends to you. No, you don't. I don't know. You've never hurt me. I don't understand. Well, back then, I said, what? Go ahead, what? Well, this was hard. He said, all those times on Sunday, I was filled with drugs. I had a drug to make me high because I got depressed. And then I would have another one that would bring me up when I was too high, and one down. And I'd try to come to Sunday even-keeled. But every time you saw me, Pastor Tom, it wasn't me. It was drugs that had come into my life. And I'm very ashamed, and I'm very sad. And I wanted to say, I want to make amends. And I said, of course, of course. You know, just imagine the kind of courage that takes years later to call somebody whom you believe you've somehow hurt through your actions. And he's on a way. He's on his way. He's changed his heart. He's done that metanoia. I'm not saying any of you have to do that in this room today. I'm just saying he did it. And he taught me the importance of the change of heart. And you can do it, and I can do it in our own ways. And then there was a young woman, her name was Sharon. Now, Sharon was just like any of you here. She was in her early 30s, and she was found herself standing like I am at a Lenten service, midweek service, giving a little bit of a witness about her life. And she said, I didn't know anything about the Lord before I came to church. I really didn't even care about anything. I came here and I liked this church. This was again in New Mexico. And I, just went along with the flow. And then there was this program 4 years ago that brought us down to Mexico to build and repair homes for the people in this little town in Mexico. And I thought, I'll sign up for that. And that was the mission of the church. And she called her little talk Reverse Mission. Reverse mission. What did she talk about? Reverse mission. And she said, I thought that the mission was to go down and help those people. And about 1 week into it, I discovered it wasn't about us helping them. They were helping us. Their gratitude, the tears they showed, the ways in which they expressed themselves, the singing, the family life. We weren't the mission to them. They were the mission to me and to the others. Reverse mission. And every once in a while, a church needs a reverse mission. It's not who we are going out, but it's those that are served that come back and give us so much. And you know what I mean. It is a reverse mission. We all need that so that our hearts can change. We were laughing about greeting each other. You're perfect the way you are. We know we're not perfect the way we are, but we try, and I'm imperfect. I know, it's hard to believe. How can that be? But I found myself in a situation, just as the Pharisees were lecturing Jesus about rules and regulations, I found myself in a situation a few years ago where rules and regulations were very, very important. Here's the situation. I had a baptism, and there were 3 services at this church at the exact same time as this church, 8, 9:15, 10:30. And after the 8 o'clock, I was rushing to my office because I was going to meet with the baptism family and be introduced to the sponsors. And I hadn't had a chance to meet the sponsors, and I was rushing, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to even the family, but I knew that they knew what baptism was. It just wasn't something that I missed. I get into my office, there they are, they're all excited, and there's the baby, and they say, Pastor, we want you to meet the sponsors. I said, great, and I walked over, and he said, this is Abraham and Esther Horowitz. Whoa, and I knew in a second, wait a minute, all the rules and regulations. You cannot have Jewish people who are sponsors for a Christian child. And I don't know how your mind works, but mine is immediately penalizing me. The bishop's going to come down on me. I'll be fired if I have them be. This is the worst thing. You can't do this. You can't have people that aren't Christian who are sponsoring. What's wrong with you? Why were you so late and talking? This is my mind. And then, wait a minute. I know. Maybe they're converts, so I'm hoping, And I said, so where do you worship? And they said, well, we worship at Temple Beth Israel. Wouldn't you know it, of course. okay, this is not working, you know, and I didn't know what to do. And I'm thinking, the rules and regulations, you can't stop this baptism, for goodness sakes, this is just terrible, and what are you going to do? And then I said, well, do you have any questions about what it means to be a sponsor? Do you know what it means to be a sponsor for a Christian baptism? I said, you know, and Abraham said, yes, we do, yes. If anything should happen to the child's parents, we're to be there to guide that child to the church. We're to present them Scripture so they'll understand it. And we're to tell them about the Creed, the Apostles' Creed, and the Lord's Prayer. We're to talk to them about Holy Communion, 10 Commandments. We're to make sure that they're raised in the faith of Jesus Christ. Well, that's better than I've heard any sponsor ever talk about it, you know? And there's this moment, you know, what do you do? That is exactly what the role of the sponsor is. And so I'm just, you know, what do you do? What do you do? What would Jesus do, you know? And I said, let's have a baptism, right? Let's have a baptism. The gospel always comes through. It always obliterates all those rules and regulations if they're getting in the way of the grace of a child in this case. And I think that's such a story so revealing of how we sometimes just, it's about rules instead of about a change of heart. And my heart changed, and we had a great baptism. I think that's the meaning of this day. May your heart be changed. May you know the love of Christ deep here as you spread it to others in the name of the Lord. Amen. Amen. Amen.